everybody, SonGoshuaku here, and welcome to my In Attendance Live Perspective podcast review for WWE Survivor Series 2019. But first, make sure to hit that subscribe button followed by hitting the notification bell so that way you are notified as soon as my content is released. That's right, I was live in attendance for Survivor Series 2019 from Rosemont, Illinois, but built in Chicago, Illinois by the WWE. As a lifelong WWE fan, it is really cool to knock this off my bucket list. Having been to WrestleMania 33 back in 2017, and now Survivor Series here in 2019, I can officially say that I've been to 2 out of 4 of the big 4 WWE events, Survivor Series, of course, being the second oldest pay-per-view in WWE history next to WrestleMania. So it was really cool to knock that off. Hopefully one day I'll be able to attend Royal Rumble in SummerSlam. But until that time comes, let's get into this podcast review so I can give you my thoughts on the show. All right, so once again, had to work that day, but I was able to get off a little bit early. Made it in time for the pre-show, but I missed apparently this cross-branded tag team battle royal. By the time I got in my seat, I think the last thing I saw was the Street Profits eliminated by Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler to win this match, and now I am just finding out that it was a cross-branded tag team battle royal. This is pretty much thrown together at the last minute, never advertised. So yeah, I can't really speak on much of it, but it definitely would have been cool to see the Street Profits entrance live and Montez Ford do the frog splash. Next up, another match that was just thrown together, NXT Cruiserweight Championship match, Akira Tozawa versus Lio Rush versus Kalisto. I don't keep up with 205, so I didn't know if Kalisto went back to NXT or is a part of Cruiserweight. I thought he was on Smackdown, or I don't know. I don't even keep up with it. But overall, interesting being in person with this match was that Lio pretty much got the John Cena treatment. There was chants, and maybe it was audible on TV, was "Let's go Lio sucks." So yeah, it was a mixed reaction for Lio Rush. Overall, it was a decent match, and Lio Rush, of course, picked up the victory and everything, and that's pretty much what it is. But it's like, yeah, thrown together, not really talked about on the show, and there you go. Then another one that was on the pre-show, and I did get to see this whole match live, was the Undisputed Era representing NXT, the tag team champions, of course, being Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish versus the Raw tag team championships, the Viking Raiders versus the versus the New Day, excuse me, for the Smackdown, were the Smackdown tag team champions. Of course, Xavier Woods is out, so it's Kofi and Big E. I will say this, I really am ready for the New Day to disband and kind of them go off do their thing. Not necessarily have to one turns heel or turns on the other, but just for them to like kind of go their separate ways. But it is cool seeing their shtick in person. But man, it's sad. Kofi Kingston was being portrayed as the main event on SmackDown as the champion, and now he's just here on the pre-show, and just the way that they portray and book his character to not at all even care about trying to get a rematch or something, or at least, you know, working himself up to getting a rematch for the WWE Championship. It's just, man, you know, most people are very angry and frustrated, and they're just not pushing that. So it's clear they kind of just wanted, Kofi, here's your time, and then bam, let's put you right back where you were. Overall, though, this match was pretty nice live, pretty decent and everything. Crowd got into it. Everybody got their moments to shine. But at the end, the Viking Raiders ended up picking up the win, as I thought they would. They had been really booked the strongest among them out there. All right, and then to start the main show, it was starting off with the women's NXT versus SmackDown versus Raw traditional Survivor Series tag team match. So Team NXT consisted of Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, and Toni Storm, versus Team Raw consisting of Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Sarah Logan, and then the SmackDown team consisting of Sasha Banks, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross. Interesting that we would see here for the entire that we would see here for the entire show for these matches. Instead of having 15 superstars come out with their own individual entrances, or even just the captains come out with their entrances, I guess to keep the show going, they ended up having it where they just played the theme songs of each show and the wrestlers just all come out that, which to me, it would have been nice to see the entrance in live. All right, to go through some of these eliminations here, Nikki Cross was the first eliminated, which I was in the arena booing because I'm a big fan of Nikki Cross' work. You had Sarah Logan, who I still don't even know the story behind this, honestly. And then Carmella was eliminated. Kairi Sane eliminated afterwards by Sasha. Dana Brooke eliminated by Asuka. It was cool to see Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair go at it, because Bianca always has that attitude in the ring that she's like the baddest woman in the ring and stuff like that. So it was cool to see them two go at it. So let me also talk about they did here. I believe it was Tony, I don't know, was it Kyle? I'm trying to remember who was it. I haven't watched it back on the network yet, so I'm just going from the perspective I saw it in the ring. But I think it was Candice LeRae and Io Shirai. They did an injury angle. Now in the arena, I couldn't tell if this was a part of the work or shoot, but once they started walking them up to the ring, I'm like, okay, I think they're going to try and do what they did last night in NXT with Rhea Ripley by doing the whole NXT numbers game. But yeah, eventually Charlotte Flair was eliminated by Lacey Evans. Asuka was counted out. Lacey Evans then eliminated by Natalya. Toni Storm was eliminated by both Natalya and Sasha Banks with where they had them into a sharpshooter and Banks statement. What was that? The submission combo. That was really cool. You had Bianca Belair then get eliminated by Sasha Banks, and then Sasha turned on Natty and eliminated her. It was really cool to see that you had all three members of each team in the ring. Sometimes they do these triple threat tag team matches. I never understand why one team has to stay out on the ring apron and tag their opponent. So that was really cool. So then, eventually, Bianca Belair's defeated and Natty's defeated, and Sasha Banks. It comes down to Sasha Banks and Rhea Ripley. And what ends up happening is Candice LeRae and Io Shirai come back out, and they never were eliminated. So it becomes a 3-on-1 situation, and Rhea Ripley ends up getting the pinfall victory, and Team NXT wins the women's Survivor Series traditional match. So this was cool. This really put, once again, in 2 nights, they really put Rhea Ripley over as a force to be reckoned with. It is interesting, kind of funny to see that these women hated each other last night in War Games, but now they're gonna go into battle with one another and all that stuff. So that was interesting. So yeah, a really good hot start to the show here. And then next up was AJ Styles as the United States Champion representing Monday Night Raw, Roderick Strong as the North American Champion representing Wednesday Night NXT, and then SmackDown being represented by the Intercontinental Championship. Love the new Intercontinental title design, by the way. It really looks something of royalty. One of the best newest championships we've seen in WWE recently. Shinsuke Nakamura, who was accompanied by Sami Zayn. So this was basically just as Roderick's last name would call for, strong. A really strong match between these three. Definitely, once again, probably some of the best interaction I've seen between AJ Styles and Nakamura in a WWE ring. I was, of course, there last year at Money in the Bank for their match, and I thought that was the best of their WWE matches. Still nothing compared to the New Japan match, but still really good nonetheless for WWE standards. These three went at it. It was an excellent match, and in the end, AJ Styles gets the phenomenal forearm to Nakamura, but Roderick Strong gets AJ Styles out of the way and gets the pin. 1, 2, 3, goes over clean, and I was shocked. NXT picks up another victory. I thought this was going to be a whole deal where maybe Vince McMahon was okay letting the NXT stars go over on most of the main roster shows, but then when it's NXT, I thought they would want to probably build up Raw, or at least build up SmackDown and establish that as the flagship show. But so definitely another really good solid match I thought here. Next up, we had the NXT Championship match. Adam Cole, baby, versus Pete Dunne, who of course won at the NXT TakeOver the night previously to earn this right in that triple threat match. Alright, usually these NXT Championship matches are expected to always be, you know, these tremendous bouts, but for the sake of logic, I would expect that Adam Cole in this match would basically be, honestly, just hurting, limping to the ring, and that the psychology here would be for Pete Dunne to take advantage of Adam Cole, who's got to be busted up badly after that tremendous spot off the bump off the cage through 2 tables, and he's not as injured in his match. But no, Adam Cole came out like normal, and then he started like selling the injury a little bit with the ribs. There wasn't as much focus on it. You did have some really cool spots, that being said, in the match where Adam Cole, I think, hit the Panama Sunrise on the apron. But yeah, it was great back and forth action. Definitely what you would always expect of an NXT Championship match. And the crowd was really into it there in person in the end. And Adam Cole did end up hitting the Panama Sunrise, and then after that, the last shot to secure the victory with bad ribs and all and everything. So yeah, like I said, would have been loved to see a lot more selling for the match, because they definitely kept showing what happened last night and everything for that. But overall, definitely another strong match for Survivor Series. All right, so now we come to the Universal Championship match. Daniel Bryan versus the Universal Champion, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Honestly, at this point in the show, I'm thinking, oh, okay, so they're going to main event with Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio. And as far as why I decided to go to this show, I knew it was going to be some great wrestling action, but I probably said the biggest reason was I wanted to see The Fiend Bray Wyatt's entrance live. It was great to see Daniel Bryan with the Titantron graphics on the screen with the very equal friendly graphics, and the whole crowd was getting into the whole yes chant, but I didn't want to do that unless I knew Daniel Bryan was going to do that himself and everything, because I didn't know where they were going to go with his character now. But the Fiend's entrance live with the music, the smoke, the eerie atmosphere, the way the lights were, man, it was epic. I always forget that when you do Bray Wyatt's entrance and everyone's got their cell phone lights, just how lit up the entire arena looks and everything. But yes, the Fiend entrance was amazing live. So if you go to a Raw and you have the opportunity to witness the entrance or just any pay-per-view or anything like that, or Smackdown, whatever, definitely it is awesome. I definitely recommend it. It did not disappoint. I enjoyed this entrance. That being said, when the match started, they had the red lights. Now, in person, it didn't look all that bad. I'm gonna be honest. You know, our TVs have the RGB lighting that can make, you know, your colors pop more and your darks look a lot more dark. So it might not come off as good as TV, which is why I don't know how long they'll keep this going. They tried it with Kane, didn't work. But in the arena, it was clear. I could see. I thought the reason why people complained about the red lighting was because it made it hard to see what the action that was going on in there. Maybe with the Hell in a Cell with that red lighting. Maybe it was, you know. But that being said, it did not really bother me in this match. I could clearly see them, and it was a really good match. 10 minutes of solid action. You know, they got in, got their stuff in, told the story, got out. You know, didn't have to go that long. It was a really good match. It's interesting because Bray Wyatt, to me, his best match, one-on-one wise, singles match, was with Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble 2014, and now here in the new Fiend persona, I would say that remains true again here in terms of the best matches we've seen with the Fiend. This was definitely hands down, I thought, the best match we've seen with the Fiend yet. Daniel Bryan, Bray always have great chemistry in the ring. The story here where the fans kept chanting yes, but Daniel would try to avoid it, but eventually Daniel got so much into the match, he ended up going back into the yes, and it was awesome. It was a great moment. I guess maybe this is Daniel Bryan going back to babyface, but it was just a great way that they actually built it up. They didn't just have him go yes yes automatically. It was actually a build up to it, so I always really appreciated that. You had Daniel kept doing the missile drop kicks, and Bray Wyatt kept just getting up and no selling it, so him hitting everything. He did hit the running knee, and of course Bray Wyatt kicked out of that. Daniel had some close near falls, and I liked that they didn't spam the finishers in this, because I thought that was completely unnecessary with the 2 matches he's had with Seth previously. But in the end, Bray ended up getting the mandible claw and ended up making Daniel pass out for the 1, 2, 3, and the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, as he should, retains the championship, which is really cool. As of this moment until Bray's next title defense, I can say that I have actually seen it's only been 2 of them, but I've seen every Bray Wyatt world title or main title defense in person, and this went so much better because when Bray won that championship, the WWE title, back at Elimination Chamber 2017, and then just lost it, I saw that in person at WrestleMania 33. I was devastated to see that, so I'm glad here this time around. Here we go, his first title defense, and Bray Wyatt wins to defend, to successfully retain his Universal Championship. So yeah, I thought this was definitely one of the best matches on the show, and was straight to the point of what it needed to be, and the crowd was into everything. I can definitely vouch for that. All right, so moving on, next was the Team Smackdown versus Team Raw versus Team NXT for the men. So Smackdown consisting of Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, King Corbin, Mustafa Ali, and Chad Gable. I'm not gonna go with that Shorty G stuff. And then versus Team Raw, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, who I guess didn't defect to NXT. Said NXT needed him more than he needs it, and that Raw would need him more. So there you go. You had Randy Orton and Ricochet, who I believe came out with attire inspired from Batman Beyond. So that was a really good pop for me because I grew up watching Batman Beyond as a kid. And then Team NXT being Tommaso Ciampa, Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and Walter. Now, being in the arena as someone who doesn't follow NXT UK and not really being very familiar with Walter, I've seen some of his matches and everything. I could tell you he was probably one of the most over people in the Chicago crowd here. I mean, it was buzzing. The entire arena was shaking with Walter chants. And he was the first one eliminated by Drew McIntyre, and the fans were livid. BS chanting and everything. Like I said, I don't have the emotional connection to him as a performer as a lot of people do who have followed his work, but he's one of the biggest dudes you've got there in the ring, and he's there to kind of come back some of the other bigger dudes on the other teams, and this is how they get rid of him. And I apparently hear that he's undefeated, so definitely not one of the good booking decisions, one of the terrible booking decisions, honestly, for them to make here and everything. I thought Shorty G might have been one of the few that would go out first, but he was eliminated. He was eliminated next by Kevin Owens, and then Kevin Owens was eventually eliminated by Tommaso Ciampa, followed by Damian Priest, eliminated by Randy Orton. Randy Orton was on fire with the RKO's. Fans were cheering heavily and everything, and then Randy Orton was eliminated by Matt Riddle. From there, Matt Riddle, he eliminated King Corbin and everything. Yeah, like I said, people were chanting big, more things that got people booed, and more questionable booking decisions. But at this point, it feels like a lot of what they do with Braun Strowman is just questionable booking. Strowman was counted out again. This guy just cannot get in the ring. They're making him succumb to the counted out. I feel like at this point, what does a lot of people like to say? Bray Wyatt for a good moment there was the eater of pins. They're gonna make Braun Strowman the eater of countouts, and this guy is too talented for that. Like, this guy should be a monster. And they're booking him like this. But I guess that's their way of protecting. But it's like, why make the guy lose so much? You got Ricochet. He defeated King Corbin and Roman were constantly on the descent here in the story. I don't know if this is shown on TV, but I noticed just being in the arena, Braun Strowman left his post. He was talking to Mustafa Ali, who got a big pop for being in Chicago, of course, and he's talking to Roman Reigns on the outside of the ring. And I actually messaged my good old pals there at No DQ, and a lot of them were telling me that this wasn't being picked up on TV. So the things you see when you're there live, and eventually eventually, King Corbin was eliminated by Tommaso Ciampa. Roman Reigns, he eliminated Drew McIntyre. I'm kind of going out of order here. And Seth Rollins eliminated Mustafa, or no, wait, I think Mustafa Ali, he was eliminated by Seth Rollins. But man, Seth Rollins, the amount of heat this guy got, it almost mirrored the heat that in that same arena. I was there in 2011 for CM Punk versus John Cena. The heat that John Cena was getting, almost, man, the Chicago crowd hated Seth Rollins' guts, and oh boy, did they ever let him hear the CM Punk chants. And you guys knew that was definitely coming after what CM Punk's statements were back on the WWE backstage show and everything. And there was definitely some CM Punk chants all throughout the show. In fact, I think I forgot to mention this earlier in the Adam Cole and Pete Dunne match, when it was a little bit more quieter before the crowd really got into it. Somebody in my section, the section next to me, someone started, there was a few section of fans that started chanting CM Punk, CM Punk, and my section completely shut them down quick with boos. So getting back to the match here. So when Tommaso Ciampa, especially when he was eliminated by Tommaso Ciampa, but eventually Seth Rollins was eliminated by Keith Lee, and the crowd popped heavily. So it came down to Keith Lee and Roman Reigns, and you're thinking, oh, they're really gonna put Keith Lee. The crowd was super hot for Keith Lee with the whole bask in his glory, this type of stuff and everything like that. But man, I'm thinking there's no way they're gonna have Keith Lee go over Roman Reigns here. And definitely Keith Lee showed off his amazing athleticism, and there were some hope spots there towards the end of the match. Keith Lee, I believe he dropped Roman with the spirit bomb, I think, and then went for the moonsault but missed it because Roman rolled out the way, and then he got up, hit him with the spear. 1, 2, 3. Roman picks up the victory for Team Smackdown, which I knew that was definitely going to happen. But at the end, Roman Reigns showed respect to Keith Lee, and I definitely think Keith Lee, most definitely, like most people in NXT, has the potential to go far in the WWE. You can just only hope he is not messed over by the questionable booking decisions that we've seen with so many NXT stars. But definitely, Roman got booed when against NXT stars, but definitely on his own was cheered. Definitely it was Seth Rollins who really got you think Roman and Seth, 1 year later, they switched places. Man, it's amazing what can change in a year. Now the whole crowd was against Seth Rollins. All right, next we come to, once again, one of my favorite matches on this show. It was short, sweet, to the point, only about 7 minutes, but it told the story it needed to tell, and everyone looked great in the match. The no-holds-barred match for the WWE Championship. Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar. It is always amazing to see Brock Lesnar live, just the how big this guy is, and just the aura that he brings into the ring, the entrance, Paul Heyman doing his shtick live. It's the same thing we see on TV, but to be there in person, I think this is the first time I've ever been in person where he does the whole thing where he grabs the microphone out of the announcer's hand. It was really awesome. Rey Mysterio, was cool to see his Titantron entrance with all the masks flipping back and forth and everything. Rey got a huge pop here with the Chicago crowd. He also came out cosplaying as the newer Joker, as he did that before, I believe, at one of these WrestleManias where he had cosplayed the Joker back in the Dark Knight 2008, and I guess this was from the new Joker movie that he was cosplaying. You had the established babyface in Rey, the established heel in Brock Lesnar. Man, this was just really good pro wrestling here. I thought the match worked out really good with Rey going outside the ring, because honestly, it's Rey Mysterio going up against Brock Lesnar. It's not unbelievable. It would make sense. He has to stall, grab for a weapon. Lesnar got him with the pipe and just threw Rey Mysterio around all through the match, and then Dominick came down to try and throw in the towel and plead for Lesnar to spare his father and everything. And right when I think he's about to attack, Lesnar's about to attack him and throws the towel out the ring, he gives him the low blow, and then Rey comes in with a low blow, and then we see for the first time ever, and I'm glad to have witnessed this moment in person, we see the first ever father-son 619. Dominick goes off the ring and does the frog splash pain tribute to, in storyline, his Poppy, or if you guys remember that, but I think in real life more like he was probably like an uncle to him, Eddie Guerrero was. And then Rey Mysterio hits the frog splash, and both of them pin Brock Lesnar. And man, I tell you, I knew Ray was gonna lose this match, but I was so caught in the moment with the crowd. We all, for that brief moment, thought maybe this is it. Maybe they're gonna have Rey Mysterio win one last WWE Championship, a world title win in the place where he won his first world championship back in 2006 at WrestleMania 22. Lesnar, of course, kicks out and then does a German suplex from the top. Well, Dominick was on the top rope. Lesnar gets him and does the German suplex to him. And then when Ray comes flying off, he catches Ray, delivers a devastating F5. 1, 2, 3. Brock retains the championship. But I thought this was a good match. You know, I don't even remember the last time Ray and Brock fought. Was like, he said, almost 15 years back in that 2002-2003 period. But man, this was awesome. Definitely a fun match. Like I said, it's short, sweet, to the point, and tells a story that it needed to tell. And now the main event. Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch versus NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler versus Smackdown Women's Champion Bayley. Very glad that they finally went all the way with the heel turn for Bayley. So honestly, the crowd was really hot for the entrances in this match, and as soon as the bell ringed, man, that whole energy just became one energy vacuum or something. That bell was just like, it was like an energy vacuum. The entire place just died down. And I thought these women actually put in a good effort. I thought they were really trying to match it because the fans just weren't more. It's not like they were just sitting on their butts and not doing anything or just not going on with it. It's like they were trying, definitely were trying. But yeah, I'm just looking around like, man, where's the energy in this place? There was like one guy in my section chanting for Bayley, and sometimes I would chant for Bayley because I was hoping that the whole story here was that they were going to give Bayley the victory because they were trying to make it too obvious. I assume that because if they didn't want to pin Becky, they would have her probably beat Shayna or whatever. So yeah, and I'm also thinking like, man, there has to be a big ending for this match or something like that. But yeah, like I said, one guy in my section was chanting for Bayley, and the other guy in the back of me kept saying shut up. And it's like, you know, I'm thinking here, at least this guy is trying to get into the crowd, trying to get a reaction. I mean, I'm like look at this, Bayley's not getting any boos, there's no Becky chants, there's no, and this whole crowd all weekend has been pretty much pro NXT. There was no NXT chance for Shayna. So I'm like, where is the energy in this crowd? I'm up here trying to cheer on, let's go Becky. I'm up here saying Bayley, or NXT, like trying to get into get some energy. But I guess there's just only a few. There was actually people getting up, being in the arena. There were people getting up that were just leaving to try and beat the traffic home and whatnot. So yeah, but like I said, the effort was there. All three women I thought were putting in a pretty good match. But you know, at the end of the day, it probably just comes down to weird placement. Like, why would WWE place this, especially with the ending going down the way it did? Yeah, you know, I'm thinking this was going to be something in the middle of the card, but this would explain why on the advertisements there, they would have advertisements on billboards. If you were driving there, they would have the advertisements with these three women on there. So I guess they were planning this to be the main event all along. In the end, however, Shayna Baszler ends up throwing Becky onto the table, and it didn't break, so I think Becky just ended up rolling off of it. And then when Shayna got into the ring, Bayley, it was down to her and Bayley, and eventually she gets Bayley caught with a Coquina clutch, and Bayley taps out. And there you go, NXT pretty much gets a dominant night as NXT's women's champion Shayna Baszler takes it all home. It's like, wow, did not see NXT getting this much love on Survivor Series. And you know what? It was the right thing to do, because NXT needed to be established to the mainstream WWE audience. Raw and SmackDown are already established, so they don't really lose much in the end there. But yeah, it would have been nice to see Bayley get portrayed as a big champion and everything, as a threat or something like that. I don't know why they had her running away all the time. But that being said, Baszler ended up standing over Becky to show her dominance as champion. I think Becky ended up sweeping her legs or something, and then she ends up getting put through the table when she gets her on the announce table, and Becky jumps from the barricade onto the to do the leg drop onto the ring announcer on top of Baszler, and the show ends with Becky looking strong, or at least that's the way WWE's booking tries to make it seem. I'm not a fan of when they do these baby faces attacks the heels that went over clean. I mean, it's one thing if, say, Shayna had her four horsewomen buddies came out and cost Becky the match, but Becky and Bayley both lost clean. And that's where the show ended. I thought maybe at this point they were going to have Ronda Rousey come out, because I know she almost decapitated her half of her index finger off, and I'm not sure how far along she is in terms of that recovery, but I thought maybe if it was recovered enough, they would have her come out and maybe cost Becky the match to help her friend Shayna out, and just as a sort of reminder there to say, hey, when I get back, I haven't forgotten the fact that you never really pinned me at WrestleMania because my shoulder was up, something like that. I don't know if they're going to acknowledge that or whatever. But that being said, yeah, it was kind of a flat ending. It really sucks. I heard chants of AEW and this match is awful. And it's like, I know we've seen far worse things. Like, I can understand for that finish with the Hell in a Cell they had with the Fiend and Seth Rollins, but this right here, I'm like, we've seen far worse. And hey, granted, I was there in person, really rooting for these three women to go ahead and tear the house down in the match, but maybe I also was probably too focused on looking at the crowd and wondering why they're not into it, and maybe I should be actually paying attention to the actual match and stuff. For all I know, this was probably maybe one of the slower matches, definitely not the best match that any of these three women have done before, and of course, as all, there is responsibility on the talent to, if the crowd you're losing the crowd, go ahead and go from a good effort to a great effort. Do what you got to get the audience back on their feet, like they did in the like Adam Cole and Pete Dunne did in their match when they were able to get the crowd back into it. But then again, like I said, I have to go ahead and take a look at it. But one thing's for sure is if the match was gonna go down like this, and this is what the finish and everything was gonna be, with nothing big happening after the match was over, definitely this had no business being in the main event. It should have closed with either the Universal or the WWE Championship match, or even the men's Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT traditional tag team match. But that being said, overall, I would say Survivor Series was definitely a thumbs up show. I think we've seen much worse WWE shows. It was overall a good action, and I thought for the most part I got my money's worth. It sucks what happened in the main event with the crowd heat and everything, just dying off out of nowhere like that. But yeah, overall, guys, if you want to hear more of my WWE reviews, I of course will have them here on my channel. I'll see you next time for the next WWE podcast review I do. And if you want to check out a short film I'm making, Battle of Deception, definitely check out the trailer. I have it. If you're an anime fan, you'll definitely would like that. And I have all my links to social media here on the screen and in the description below, where you can find all my links. Until then, everybody, take care. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that way you're notified as soon as my content is released. Take care.